Nick?
What up?
Hey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I've been so excited to talk to you on this podcast. I can't tell you.
I'm surprised.
I'm not surprised. Well, here's why. I just think you're one of the most fun people I know.
I'm flattered.
I'm telling
glad.
you, it's true. Here's what's weird. I probably hang out with you, twice a year?
True.
Yeah, twice a year. And every time I get around you, you give me the joy. You're funny, man. If it's okay, you're silly. There's something about you that's a little silly. Is that okay?
I'm extremely silly.
I love that. I love
Extremely.
that. I tell you what, let's do this, Nick. I think a lot of people have probably seen you in the BPLA space as it references Vineyard Worship.
Mm-hmm.
You've been up with Joshua and the gang, leading worship at national conferences and Better Together. But I bet there's a lot of people who maybe know your face or have seen you, but they don't know you. So could you just tell us, where'd you grow up and what kind of family did you have? And were you a Christian? Or
I hope, yes.
Yeah. Talk to us about that.
So I grew up in East Cleveland, in Cleveland, Ohio, and single parent, my mom and me, only child. Think what you might. And I went to elementary school for a brief moment, was in private school till high school, then moved to Shaker Heights. Went to Shaker Heights High. And
what was Shaker Heights like?
Shaker Heights, like, very diverse. Like, very, very diverse. It was like top second school district in Ohio, still pretty high up. Really good school. That was, mom said, single parent, she's working 2 jobs for almost all my life until, I was in the middle of college. I worked full time through college and went to college full time. And she said at high school, you're going to a private all boys school or going to Shaker. I said, we're going to Shaker.
You're like, Mom, don't do that to me.
I'm not wearing navy and white for 4 years.
Yeah.
This is not fun.
Okay, so were you an academic kid? Or your mom made you be?
If my mom hears this.
Yeah.
So I started singing when I was 11.
Yeah.
I grew up in Black Baptist Church.
Yeah.
I mean, dragged by the ankle 5 times a week forever. My mom's still going to the same church that she belonged to before I was born.
There you go.
In Cleveland. And so I was always there. I sang a little bit, but not much leading at all until I was 25. So I started singing R&B. I'm an R&B head. Grew up on Boyz II Men.
Give me your references. Boyz II Men.
So I grew up, all my mom's albums are scratched. The albums I grew up on, Anita Baker, Luther Vandross. Luther is my favorite singer of all time.
Okay.
Michael Jackson Bad album, Whitney Houston,
Yes.
and Anita Baker. That's
Yes.
who I grew up on.
Yes.
And then I'm a 90s R&B guy, so like I was in a singing group, and it's so embarrassing to think about it now, but the other 2 guys, 11, so my first singing group. 15 and 16, Keith and Carlos. We used to get on the bus and go and sit in the back of the bus and ride the bus and sing Boyz II Men. And right now I think of that, I'm like, I could hurl.
No, that's awesome. I love it. So 11-year-old boys just in the back singing Boyz II Men. Were you singing the harmonies?
Oh, I mean, so R&B for me is like, you can't sing R&B well and not do harmony well. I mean, I can't explain it, but because of that and in gospel, what I heard in church, it's almost like a file folder in my head when I'm singing. Like a lot of people, black singers I know, you get in the car, you're singing by yourself. You're not singing the melody. You're singing
the harmony part.
Weird. It's so weird. You just go straight to harmony.
Yeah, I love that.
It's just kind of inbred, so it just pops up. So that's a big part. So like, when you're singing harmony is on pitch, there's a ring.
Yeah.
So I live for that, to hear that buzz and that ring in harmony. I mean, almost equally as singing lead. It's
just that resonation.
It's and then the vibrato, and so so I started singing I was 11. So I've been singing since I was 11. So when you get to academics, I sang in choir in school through college.
Yeah.
Choir, I even did Glee Club at OSU for a hot minute. Gospel choir, I sang in traditional choir. I got into show choir senior year. So I was singing, started working when I was 14, and I was getting A's and B's until I really got a manager and was doing a lot, festivals. I don't know how I was doing all this, but I was getting like A's, B's, and C's. And my mom didn't stop me. She kept telling me, you need to chill until you're out of college. And I played sports until basketball and volleyball until ninth grade.
So
Something
your
had to
mom
go.
was like, she was the academic voice in your head.
Oh,
She was like,
there's no. I mean,
she was like, Nick, do good at school.
there are a black mother. There are. You have to do things to be successful,
Yeah.
and there's another layer of things that you have to do academically. That is not an option. That's first.
Did she love you as a singer though? Did she see that in you, and did she encourage that?
Not until I was 17. We had a bad argument after a spring concert because my mom was really strict, and I knew she was proud of me, but she never really said it when it came to music until one day I said, "Everybody says I'm good. You never tell me I'm good.
Yeah.
Do you have to come?"
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I think she realized I needed some of that in that area from her.
Yeah.
Because I got it other places, never there. And I remember that.
That's a
And
big
that was
moment.
it. But yeah, she never stopped me though. My mom could have easily stopped me. She never stopped me. She wanted to stop. And I remember I was 22 in college. She's like, obviously, you need to be doing this. And I had done demos. I'm going to New York and stuff like that. And that's when she said, okay, but I could have been getting straight A's. That was her problem. Because she's like,
yeah, I got
you're
you.
a B student and you are not a B student.
Yeah,
and
you're an
you
A
would.
student who sings
and
too
that
much.
was academic. And it was all the time. I mean, she would come to stuff. It wasn't like she wasn't supporting.
Yeah, of course.
So that's why she wanted me to, but she knew she couldn't.
Okay, so let's talk about R&B some more. Boys to Men. Who else did you like in the 90s?
I mean, Boys to Men. I met Drew Hill. I opened up for, when I was 16, I opened up for Montel Jordan. And right after This Is How We Do It came out. And, in the Flats in Cleveland.
Yeah.
The girl I was singing with.
Did you like the Fugees?
Of course.
I think it's one of the greatest records of all time.
Yeah. They Apple, I think, just deemed the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill like the best album ever. They just awarded her whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked them primarily because of Lauryn Hill, because their voice was just so, like,
It's
interesting.
arresting.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So, yeah, but Fugees, all the groups, female groups, like In Vogue. I mean, if I sing
TLC.
very high. It's TLC cool, but I was more in the, I like R&B, but I'm always, Brandy is like one of my top. Like a singer for me is someone that you can do all the show, but a singer is someone I can go see and you can sit on a stool and need nothing else.
Right.
So like a Brandy,
Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys.
You don't need anything else.
Mariah back in the day.
Yeah.
Vision of Love, Mariah.
Dude, that's the
That
first
cut.
record, huh?
Vision of Love, yeah. So that kind of stuff. And
Well, you mentioned a moment ago you were going to New York to make demos. Were you trying to have a career?
from 11 to 28, I was going to be famous. From 11 to 28, I'm going to be famous. That's all this other stuff. This school stuff is just because mom's making me doing it.
Yeah.
But I've probably done 15. The music industry changed.
Yeah.
But back when I was pursuing it, you had to do a demo. You had to have 3 songs, a mid, a slow, a fast.
Yeah.
I learned how to mix for my senior project in high school. I had a production deal for 9 months. Had a couple almost record deals. But I was in a group from 16 to 21. And I love groups. But I kept getting called out. So I sing high. So it was just very easy to get called out. Like, oh, who's that guy? And it would eventually cause some tension. But I wasn't ready. I wasn't comfortable as a solo artist. I loved harmony. So I always wanted that. Okay, I'll do a verse, but can we just fall back in? But like management, it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Like that, and I wasn't ready. So at 21, I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna go do this. But like demos, New York, labels, sitting in there, A&Rs, not getting a deal.
Yeah.
Like doing gigs.
How was that? How did you handle the rejection? Or just the static that's in the
Well, there were a
record
couple
world?
things. It wasn't fun. I mean, there were a couple moves that I had to make to get out of, like, not reading. I was in a production deal. Thank goodness it wasn't like a full-blown, like, record deal. But I didn't read the fine print on something and had to maneuver to get out of it, like, at 18.
Yeah.
Because I had, just not set myself up to do well. So I didn't like that part. I didn't like having to do that. I didn't like that I found out it was 10% talent and 90% the rest.
Yeah.
I also was not, this is hindsight, I was not comfortable with myself. Like up until 18, I did not like that I sang that high
Mm.
because I would sing and somebody hear a recording often in the group. Oh, who's that girl featuring?
Yeah.
You know, and I just wasn't comfortable with that until 18, and I found out actually I was doing a gig, and girls went nuts, and I think I paid attention at that. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's right.
This is something.
Yeah, that's right.
That was
But I think that's common for high school kids, right? Like
Yeah.
we grow up and we have our insecurities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
you
it was
just have
that's,
to work through it.
That's what I had. I mean, I had to use it, but I was always the one singing the highest. So it was that, the industry, managers. I mean, it was, I didn't like all of the stuff. It was like the performance is 5-10% of this, and I got to do all this stuff, and it's just frustrating. I meet all these people, and then they're like, there's a level of judgment, how you look, how you sound. You need to do this.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
everything's
hated
under the
that.
microscope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about singing in church, because that's the context by which I know you.
Yeah, minus a couple instances, I didn't really start singing in church. I mean, I sang in a gospel choir, which is where I met Tori Baker, which is who actually invited me
Shout out
to
to
Vineyard. Shout out Tori. We sing in gospel choir at OSU. I didn't start singing in church until 25. I mean, I sang in a choir, just didn't. So I don't have I started in church. I started in the streets.
Yeah, you started in the backseat of the
I
bus.
started
at
in the
11.
backseat of the bus,
Yeah.
singing on Voice of Men. But yeah, I went to Baptist Church in Columbus, Ohio. That was the first church I joined, as an adult on my own. I went and found it, and
You went and found it. Okay.
I went and found it. And so I was there for 5 years, and I led a lot. There was a group of, we led a lot of songs. But yeah, I mean, that was fun, but that was the extent
Did it
that I
feel like
went to do.
calling, or did it?
Absolutely not. No, I sang in a choir because I want to sing in a choir.
Yeah.
I led because I could lead, and I looked at myself very much as, I can sing all this, but I was very clear on what I was not. I was like, I'm not a worship leader. That is not what I am, because what was required from what I was getting was what was required is someone that can get up and people are reciting entire books of Psalms. I was like, I know John 3:16.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can sing all of this. So I never felt that. And then
You didn't feel.
I was not equipped. I was not that person. I didn't think I was a good enough Christian. It just was not.
You didn't
what
feel
I was.
spiritual enough. You didn't feel.
No. And every comment I got, compliments on your voice are phenomenal. But that's what I heard. Oh, your voice is great, which it was great. And so it was very much I like doing this. I can do it well, and this is what you want me to do. And from some of the things, I grew up in the church. I mean, in the Baptist church, at least my experience is that it's a lot of pressure. It's a different vibe, rehearsals are different. I mean, the result is fantastic, but sometimes how you get there is not that healthy. And then a lot of people I saw were asking for things, they're leading and it was what they wanted. So that's why I experienced. So I never wanted to be someone that's I'm going to church and I'm bringing a song that it just put a bad taste in my mouth. And then combined with me just not feeling I'm not good enough Christian to be, I just didn't, that was not.
Well, say
what it was.
more about that. Say more about I'm not a good enough Christian. What was your walk with God like in those college, slightly post-college years where you're singing at the Baptist church?
So I went to church consistently till college, and then I would go back home to Cleveland and visit. But in college, it was very hit or miss.
Yeah.
Very hit or miss. And up until I got to the church I belonged to, when I joined in 25, my relationship with God was full fear. Believed in Jesus, got baptized at 12, but it was very much
I'm afraid. Yeah,
that was the fear. It was the fear. It was no friend. I heard it, but I didn't oh, that's a relationship? I didn't have a relationship like that. My relationship with God was very much you need to do, this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing. And I think that's rolled up in how I was taught, what I was getting, parents. It was very much this.
Yeah.
And then when I joined the church, that was when it hit me over the head oh, I could just talk to you?
Yeah.
And so that belonging to that church was, if there's nothing else I got from that church, that was.
Tell me
most
the name of
important
that church
relationship.
again.
New Salem.
New Salem
Baptist Church.
Where's
It's in
that
Columbus,
at?
Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
Shout out to New Salem.
Yes, I got that there, and that was total change in relationship, and thank God it was in the middle of my 20s. It's like I needed that. So yeah, so
why did you go to the Vineyard? Because the Vineyard is clearly
I left there when I was 30. So I'm 44.
Yeah.
I left there when I was 30. I needed something different. I look at church on Sundays, or I did look at church as a hard reset. Like, I need something that's going to reset me and get me back to kind of like the middle, you know? And I just needed something different.
Okay,
So
but then why Vineyard Columbus? I mean, you could go anywhere. Columbus is a big city.
So Tori had mentioned it to me.
Tori Baker.
Tori, randomly, but no pressure. So I was like, well, let me try this. I went and sat in the balcony for a year.
You would show up and just sit in the balcony?
Sit in the balcony, visit it, watching Tori, watching Joshua, who I didn't know at that time, and Noel, lead, and and Rich was preaching, and
what did you think? Because it's clearly not it's not a Black Baptist church.
So Rich was far enough away from what I grew up with, and not too far that I was like, I need it, because I really still wanted that kind of very directive message style, clear, not
Rich is
I'm
so
not
clear.
I need instruction. I personally need some. Don't give me fluff, because I'm not gonna listen to it.
Yeah, tell me what to do. Tell me how
soft.
to be.
Tell me what to do. So I feel like
Let's
somebody's
go.
told me what to do.
Yeah,
that's
I
what I
need to
needed.
know.
So he was enough for that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he's also a genius. Let's just call it what he's the man's a genius.
I mean, I don't want to give Rich all of that.
I will.
Okay.
Rich is a genius.
I know. You're right.
Yeah.
I know. I love Rich. So, but yeah, so that was a big part. But my two biggest things are the sermon and the preaching and the worship. And it was so hard not to like have gospel. But the thing that I couldn't get away from is like, but these people like really care. Like, I was like, they were singing harmony. And a lot of the songs you were singing were the songs that we sang. Only you sang for 4 minutes and we sang it for 15.
Yeah.
Because I was in church for 2 to 3.5 hours per service,
that's
right?
different, isn't it?
And then I was like, oh my God, it's an hour, I'm leaving.
Yes.
So, but it
brunch.
But there is a hard, for me, there's a lot of emotions considering not going to a Black church, and that's how I grew up.
But you went for a year. That's very interesting to me.
Because I couldn't stop going, and I was having a lot of conflict. Like, I don't know if I'm going to join. And then Tori asked me a year in, "Hey, you want to sing?" And in a lot of Black churches, you are not doing anything from a ministry standpoint until you've joined and gone through all of those.
Yeah.
So the first thing I was like, no, I can't do anything. She was like, it doesn't matter. Oh, it does. We debated. So I couldn't. I said, I shall not. So, so the Sunday I wanted to do, I was playing softball, and I was like, I have a game, and I felt very bad that I couldn't do it. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to sing because I have softball. But then it's like, do what you're obligated to do. And then I said, please ask me again. So a month later, she asked me. And then I went. And I went to rehearsal. Yeah. I remember, first friend I made, Sharina Casey.
Shout out Sharina.
Yeah. And met Craig Allen.
Craig
my homie.
Craig on the keys.
Craig co-wrote EP with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was there. And we used to rehearse on the stage in the main room. All the lights were out except for a couple. And I remember we couldn't get this harmony part. And Tori had to stand up, like we were sitting in a circle, and like kind of got really close. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm actually about to do this. And I had to lead. I had to lead. So good. So good, so good, so good. And we were singing. And then Tori was like, that sounds good, Nick. But you need to do something else. Just flip the second verse. Yeah. And nobody knew me. And so it's like, cool. And we started singing it. And I flipped the octave. And then everybody was like, what?
And did that feel awesome to you? Did you feel like a fish out of water?
After the reaction, I was like, oh God, they know now.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows how I can sing and sing. And so that Sunday, I stood on the end. The amount of people that came up to me after was like, and said, we were looking around to see which girl was singing, and it was you. I was like, wow, these people come right up to you here.
Yeah, they do.
So after that, and within 2-3 weeks, I joined. I still was not comfortable because I felt very like there was a little bit of like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like,
Where do you think that voice or that thought comes from?
I think when you're a part of any group, there are parameters that in that group that you feel like you're supposed to do. So being a part of the Black community, I'm supposed to go to a Black church.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's true,
Yeah.
but that was a lot of me sitting there for a year. Like, what am I gonna? And I left a church where I was singing a lot. So like, what are people? What am I doing? Am I doing something wrong? But what I felt was overriding all that. And then so I was on the team for a year, became to love it, and then I'd always wanted to move to Chicago, and then got a promotion opportunity to move. And
did you keep singing in Chicago?
I hunted for churches for 7 years. I was gone from Ohio for 7 years, and I consistently went to other vineyards.
Yeah.
I was in Chicago twice. I was in Philly once. Mm-hmm. And I did come back for the first year and would come on the weekends and sing sometimes at church, sing some weddings, remain friends with folks. But I left, and some other people left, and then and didn't plan to come back. Especially the second time I went to Chicago.
Were you happy in Chicago?
I was very happy the first time.
Yeah.
Moved me to Philly for 3 years. Philly's nice, but I thanked them and left.
Yeah.
Went back to Chicago. And when I went back to Chicago, I've been promoted some more. And I was feeling myself, I guess. So I moved downtown in a high rise.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at the lake.
You're just balling out of control.
Wait, hold on. 550 square feet.
Oh.
Let's preface that.
You're small balling.
Small balling. But Chicago's not cheap.
That's right. It's not.
I was walking to work, going to rooftops.
Yeah.
And I was.
I wish everybody could have seen the face you just made.
I'm a rooftop guy. I'm like, why would I be down
That's
here
what
when
the
I could be
city
up
is.
here? Like,
that's right.
This is better. But around 38th birthday, I noticed that I wasn't happy. And I was like, I'm not unhappy, but I have all this. Why am I not happy? And it was bothering me for about 3 months. It happened. And then I finally called 3 friends on a Saturday that aren't related. And I just said, I just need to vent. And all of them said, number one, there's something that's going to make you feel like you didn't make it if you go back to Ohio. And then the second one is like, you're not in church and you're not doing music. I would do a gig like once every 3-4 months or something. But so you need to do something. So I got very uncomfortable because I realized that I created some kind of level of like, when you leave, at least as a Black male, there's this thing like you need to go out, success.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
You've got to
go make a
do
name
well.
for yourself. Yeah.
And for us, you need to make a path.
Yeah.
So more. So I think I carried that, and something in there made a return to Ohio as a failure. And people would see me like, oh, what happened? I didn't know that happened until I kind of just vocalized what was in my head. So that next morning I did pros and cons.
Yeah.
It was 3 to 10. I remember texting Craig. It was February. I was like, well, my lease is up in November. I'm out.
Yeah.
And I was back in November. I was in rehearsal 5 days later.
Amen.
Oh, and by the way, I lost my voice for 6 months right after that.
So when you moved back, you lost your
voice? A month
voice?
after I decided.
Oh.
I started, after I was singing for 5 minutes, like throat was shut down. And I told no one because I was terrified. Finally went to the doctor and found out I had a GERD, basically extra stomach acid.
Yeah.
So and then medication, went to doctor, did nothing. So I could sing barely baritone. And I went to rehearsal. I told no one. And we used to rehearse vocal rehearsal in the middle of the week. We used to have that in Craig's office. And I was scared to tell him because I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to be like, oh, you can't do this. And then we always pray a little, before. Yeah. It's like, anybody pray? I was like, well, my throat been kind of sore. Real chill. 90-second prayer. Sunday.
Fine.
6 months. And then I started taking things a month after.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have an explanation. This was
Interesting.
And from that point, and also a lot of things from that point, as soon as I got back to Columbus, multiple reasons I moved. I was like, okay. I didn't know that was God. I know now that was God like rattling my cage. I didn't know that,
what I
but
hear
I know
in your
now.
story of like being a singer, leaving the black church, going to Columbus, being a singer, Chicago, Philly, Chicago, but coming back. I mean, kind of what I see in there is it just feels like in some way you're called to Columbus. It's your home.
I think so. I mean, when I'm not, and I also learned when I'm not doing music, somebody said to me many, many years ago that one of the ways you know something you're supposed to do in life is if it involuntarily continues to come back to you, if it's a positive thing. And I would go, not do anything, and all of a sudden, like 90 days would pass. And then, hey, can you do this? So need to be doing music of some kind and not being in church for that 7 years, like belonging. I would visit some stuff. I was listen to podcasts, but it did not. It started to be clear that I'm not feeling centered.
Yeah.
I started to feel it, especially when I moved back to Chicago.
Yeah.
So and so I got back and then snapped into place.
Okay, let's shift gears here just a second then. Part of your story is always a singer, Boyz II Men, 25 singing at the Black Gospel Church, but then you make this transition a little bit later into, mostly white megachurch, and it kind of becomes your home. And now Columbus is very diverse, and you guys do a lot of, I would just call
everything.
Yeah, you do a lot of everything. You do a lot of like regular big church worship, and then you do gospel stuff. So can you just talk to me about having a foot in two worlds? Like you're an amazing gospel singer, and then also some of what you guys do on a Sunday morning is it's regular worship, it's CCM, or maybe there's like a vineyard tune, and it's definitely not black gospel. So talk to me about like being in the worship community where a lot of different things are happening. How does that feel?
So first of all, I'll pay you for that compliment and Venmo you later. Thank you.
Yeah, $20. Yeah, that's it.
I'll give you 21 for that one.
That's right.
So one thing about me singing in black church, I never felt, not only did I not think that I never wanted to be a worship leader because I didn't see me, but I never felt like I could be myself because truly it wasn't my DNA to get up and sing Your Great Name and like button hit and do all the ad-libs, all the stuff, top of my lungs. Like that wasn't me. I did it because I could vocally, but it wasn't, there was a level of being performative because I felt like I didn't have a choice because in the environment, like in a black church, we're very much sing along. And, in the black church, just sing along. But first, you, as the choir, need to deliver.
Yeah.
Like, we're fed off music. I mean, if I hear something, like, it's like, whoa, electric. It's like visceral, so you need to get that. So I never felt comfortable, even I did it.
Yeah.
So in Vineyard, for me, I love doing all of it because one of the things that led me to where I'm at now is I started to realize, like, wait a minute, I'm like Nick at Vineyard, and they're cool with it. So we started doing ministry songs. Well, they had been doing them, but I started doing ministry songs in 2019. Like you do it for like for like Martin Luther King Day, you do it for holidays, and so it's an offering song.
Yeah.
Offering. And so I did like, I think 4 in 2019 in Vineyard Columbus, and it's just Craig and I on the keys. If I'm singing by myself, even if I try really hard, R&B vibe is going to creep in. I can sing straight, but it's going to creep in.
That's great.
But I was nervous. I was like, oh, that's loud. I'm a little scared. And I kept singing, and nothing was happening. I was like, wait a minute, is this okay?
Yeah.
And then, the response, something changed too. People stopped complimenting me on my voice, and people start talking about, like, God. And now I was like, oh, that's different. I hadn't gotten that before.
So just, you feel like you can be the authentic Nick.
Yeah.
You're doing what you really are.
Yeah.
It's R&B tinged.
Yeah.
It pops out.
Yeah.
You don't feel the need to apologize for that.
No.
And then at the end, people are saying, man, I felt the Lord.
That was
It wasn't just, Nick, you're a great singer. So what I hear in that is you were able to I don't even mean this in a bad way, but you were able to let go of maybe performance, and you're just, there's something, you're serving the room.
Yes.
But you get to be you.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing.
The more me I get to be, I think that God's like, okay,
isn't that interesting?
great. Oh, it was great. I mean, because it's still, I mean, even now, like somebody says, like it is, I will not going to go deep in this, so I want to keep it together, but I can't explain what it feels like that God is like, yeah,
well,
I'm going to do that.
I mean, before we press play, I'll just go back to some of what we were talking about earlier. Yesterday morning at the BPLA session, Nick, I got so touched by the Lord. I got so touched by the Lord in a way that I haven't in years, actually. I feel it even now, right? Like, and what was wonderful is you and Alex, Joshua, Sarah, Carla up there with you? Yeah, Carla, yeah. And the whole team. You guys were just being so you. But, and listen, y'all were playing, like the band was hot.
Oh, of course.
And the harmonies were on. So let's just take, performance was 10 out of 10, right? But performance wasn't what captured me. It was the Spirit of the Lord was in the room. So like performance is 10. Yes, of course, we clicked all the boxes. But for real, for me, I just kind of put all that over here on the left side of the table. But what was in the middle of the table was like this profound experience of I can't even describe it, but it was the love of God was in the room. And I wasn't expecting it. And I don't even mean that in a negative way.
Yeah.
Of course the presence of the Lord is going to be there. Of course I'm going to enjoy it. Of course I was going to meet God, but it was so personal to me. And it's kind of what you were saying. You're just doing you.
Yeah.
Nick's being Nick, Alex being Alex, Sarah, Carla, Joshua. And but what was available to me was the love of God. It wrecked me yesterday.
Yeah. There's nothing better. Like for me, I'm like, let's see, I love to sing. I'm getting shocked. I'm like, oh, love leading worship. God's using me.
Yes.
Like we're all in it.
Yeah.
What's better? Pizza's close. But it's not better.
It's not better.
It ain't better.
No.
And so I'm like,
but what if we get pizza afterwards?
Oh,
Nick?
well, don't let me leave this early. Because don't let me leave this early. But back to what you said. So I got to that point. Vineyard Columbus, at least in my experience, I've been there all in. I mean, I've been there 8 years total, but I started 14 years ago. There have been moments of, infusing gospel in other ways. But I think at that moment, like in 2018, 19, we were very much CCM.
Yeah.
COVID happened. 11 or so months, we are like online only. Limited crew, everything. I was on a lot of people, but Paul Cullen, shout out to
Paul's
my homie.
my guy.
Shout
out to Paul.
Shout out to Paul Cullen. Like Paul and I, for a couple of years, were on a lot together, heavily impacted. Paul, Craig, and Joshua as a worship leader. Like I wouldn't be here. I feel like I cheated with having all three of them.
Oh, they're such great people,
right?
Great
and
leaders.
They all gave me different things.
Yeah.
So we were on a lot, like every other week for months, the whole time, and it's difficult if you only have two vocalists, and you're used to having 6 to 8 and like 6 instrumentalists behind you,
singing some parts,
right? And so we were limited in songs and everything, and so Paul and I tried a couple of our normal songs, CCM songs, and started doing some gospel versions. I'll never forget, we did Raise a Hallelujah, which terrified me, and we did it, and nobody died. And there was a great response. And so
a gospel version of it.
We did, a gospel version of it. And then we started to creep in other things. And I think that helped to kind of takes in a different direction, and then eventually, and I'm still doing ministry songs, and there are other people are in the team. They're saying like, oh, we could do this, and then Joshua comes back.
Yeah.
And then we're not leaving CCM songs, and then we start doing more Spanish songs. So it just got more diverse. And then I think when you have leadership that is helping to drive that and leaving that gate open, and you see the response. And what I found out about Vineyard Columbus is that Vineyard is open for it, but you have to lead. And Vineyard loves lyrics. It's the meaning and the content.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll say this. What shocks me is like the people who are coming up to me the most are mature, white, married couples after Sunday.
Yeah.
Which, I wasn't expecting that. It's like
It's landing.
for me. And
Yeah.
it's after I did a hard gospel.
Yeah.
And I'm like that. But
Yeah.
it's the meaning. And our vineyard is like, they want something from everybody up there. They want Joshua, they want Paul, they want Sharina. And once you get that, I'm like, oh, I'm motivated.
Amen. Well, and part of what I hear in your story, and I think this to be just true, is anytime any of us see someone in their element, we'll go back to that thing you said a moment ago, like being their authentic self. Like, I'm not hiding, I'm not pretending, I'm not performing. I'm not putting on and by performing I mean like putting on a false mask,
Right.
pretending to be a thing I'm not really. But anytime when you see somebody just being their authentic self, it touches people. It especially when that authentic self is pointed to God, and it really touches people. So I'm not surprised married white couples are coming up to you and saying, Nick, what was that? Because everybody, I think everybody's hoping that there could be a space where they could be their authentic self somewhere in this world.
I agree.
Because I think most of us know there is that temptation just in Western culture to
Assimilate
and keep up appearances, and everything's great, and the chart of our life is up and to the right. A little more money, a little more rooftop, a little more.
Hey, you gonna leave that rooftop alone now? You back that up. You edit that out. You leave my rooftops alone.
It stays in, Casey. But yeah, like that just that pressure to be whatever it is, and then when we see somebody being their authentic self toward God and in front of people, it unlocks something. So I'm not surprised. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. It's the environment. Again, I always laugh because I'm like, did not want to be a worship leader.
But here you
and
are.
then it's the best thing I've done in my life.
Is it?
Oh, it's the.
I love that.
It is one of those. It's the thing out of everything that I've ever done. Now, there are other things I enjoy, like I have a day job. But there are other things that I enjoy, but none of them are able to fulfill like skills I have, allow me to mentor, and I love to see other people do well. Like I don't like, and I'm surprised to say this, to know this now about myself, because I wouldn't have said that about me in my 20s. But when I got comfortable with myself, I'm like, oh, I want to be up front. But like, if I'm leading a song and team is not really gelling well and I need to lead or do ad-libs or whatnot, for me, I will fall back immediately, because I'm like, I feel like weird, because it almost like in my mind it's like I'm stepping forward, I'm on the front of the stage and everybody's back there. I'm like, no, I need to get back, because we are going together or we aren't going. Like in my head, like
so, you fall back, strengthen everything back up.
Yeah, we're going to do this. Like, I am
together.
with you. I don't go unless everybody else is locked in. So if I ever popping off on a song, it's because we are all in.
That's how you know.
Like that's how and then we are all in it. But I feel, but I can do all of that, and I can't do that anyplace else. So, and then Vineyard Columbus just beats, and then it's all cyclical. And then you do this, like, oh, you want to do this? I'm a choir director now at Vineyard, which never did that. But as soon as I was asked, I was like, yeah, I'm doing that, and I can do it because my work I'm a senior director of operations, so I'm very gear moving and stuff. So I was like, that feeds that. And so it's just that thing that I'm like, I can do all of my stuff there. Oh, by the way, and I'm Nick. I can be nuts.
Yeah.
I can execute.
Yeah.
I can help other people.
Yeah.
I can sing.
Yeah.
What else is there?
I love that, Nick. I mean, part of what I hear in your story is Vineyard Columbus has become a place where you could be who you really are and you can serve out of your strengths and your actual gifts. You know, you're a worship leader and now you're directing the choir and you're helping people to also be their best self, right?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best where I can.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. Well, Nick, why don't we land here? I'm sure there's some people who hear this story and I know they're just going to be touched and inspired, but probably there's some people who are at Vineyard churches and they're like, man, I want to add some of these elements to our worship. You know, I want to add some of these gospel elements and I want to make a wider space for our church community. Why don't we land here? Just tell us what's the first maybe 2 or 3 baby steps to the elevator to making that kind of room and taking those kinds of steps and moving the worship culture like that.
My advice, personal advice, the first one is don't try to be somebody else. I think it's an easy shift to try to be someone else you admire or you think that works. Don't do it. You may do it well, but you'll never do it as well as you can do in yourself. I have to consistently remind myself of that.
Yeah, be who you are.
Period. Second is make a slight pivot in some of your CCM songs. Mm-hmm. Use what you've got. So slow the BPM down. Speed it up.
Yeah.
Add a breakdown. Do a halftime. Halftime will get some people. Halftime will like, wait, what's this? I don't know how I'm feeling. Am I okay? Am I okay to do this?
Yes.
You know, there's small things and watch, and see what happens.
Sub-a-chord.
Right. Mm-hmm. Change a key. Mm-hmm. Do it in a different key. Mm-hmm. Don't do so much unison. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a huge person. A song needs to move. There's some CCM songs that are a little flat. They're straight across.
Yeah.
Listen, start one person, go to unison, drop in parts, and then drop that music. So musically, you can do it. So use what you have first. And then if you want to be dangerous, then go do a mid-tempo. Or maybe ad-lib. You don't need to fall downstairs in an ad-lib to do a good ad-lib. Just say, easy ad-libs. I remember somebody asked me, like, how do you ad-lib? A lot of my ad-libs, I say the word of the line before it's coming because, A, the team loves it because it reminds them where they're going. Yeah. You don't have to do anything fancy.
Yeah, it checks the room in, too.
Yeah, so it's...
Some of it's just like hospitality leading. You're just...
And then last, if it's possible, depending on where you're at, invite someone with your teams to do it. Yeah. But everybody doesn't have that depending on where you're at and where you live. So try those things because everybody can do that.
Everybody can do that.
But you got to have no risk, no reward. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen if they don't like it? They'll come back.
That's right.
I'm sure there's the song that you're doing now that they don't like.
Let's be honest.
Just speak real about it.
Let's get real. So good. Well, dude, thanks for coming and hanging out with us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And listen, before I press the record button and stop this, when you guys are out and about at a Vineyard conference, you need to go hang out with Mr. Nick. This man is a party. All right, everybody. Peace.
Hey everyone, Casey Corum here, producer of the podcast. Thanks for listening. As always, if you've been enjoying the podcast, here's a few ways you can help us. First of all, leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice. This helps more people find us. Also, connect with us on social media. Instagram at The Ferment Podcast and Twitter at FermentCast. All right, everyone, thanks for listening. See you next week. Peace.